It had been one of those days that leaves you drained down to your bones and desperate for the sanctuary of your own space. I'd just finished tidying up after dinner, the low hum of the dishwasher the only sound in the house. A soft glow from the corner lamp bathed the living room in warmth as I sank into my favorite armchair, chamomile tea in hand. Ordinarily, this was my favorite time of night. Quiet, uneventful, a chance to recharge. But that evening was destined to be anything but ordinary. A gentle knock at the door broke the stillness, sending a tremor of surprise through me. No one ever visited at this hour, especially on my sleepy little cul-de-sac. My heart pounded as I rose to see who it could be, curiosity and caution warring in my mind. When I opened the door, I found David, my neighbor, standing there. Taller than I remembered, he shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his expression caught somewhere between determination and anxiety. "David," I said, my voice carrying both surprise and concern. "What brings you by so late?" He cleared his throat. "Hey, Claire, I know it's late, and I'm sorry to show up unannounced, but I really need to talk to you. Is that okay?" Though slightly taken aback, I stepped aside to let him in. A faint tension settled between us as we walked to the living room, and he perched on the edge of the couch, hands clasped as if bracing himself. Seeing him there felt strangely out of place, yet not entirely unwelcome. He hesitated, exhaling as though he were about to deliver a crucial piece of news. "This might sound strange," he began quietly, "but there's something I've been keeping inside for a while, and I can't do it anymore." Unease and curiosity sparked within me. "All right," I said gently. "What is it?" David lowered his gaze, then forced himself to meet my eyes. "Claire, I've fallen for you. I know it might seem sudden from your perspective, but I've been sitting with these feelings for a long time." The room felt smaller at his words, like the walls themselves had drawn closer. I stared at him, stunned, trying to process the idea that my unassuming neighbor, the man I waved to in passing and discussed lawn care with, had come here to confess he was in love with me. "David, I started, my words faltering. I had no idea how to respond. He raised a hand to gently interrupt. "It's okay. I don't expect an answer this second. I just needed you to know. You're this constant in my life, the way you carry yourself, your kindness, your quiet strength. I can't pretend my feelings aren't there anymore." The sincerity in his voice tugged at my heart, and a small knot of empathy and uncertainty settled in my chest. I could see the hope in his expression, but I couldn't give him what he needed right then. I mumbled something about needing time, and he seemed to understand. After a brief, tense silence, we said a polite goodnight. In the days that followed, the memory of his confession stayed with me, looping endlessly in my thoughts. I replayed his voice, his posture, the intensity in his eyes. While part of me was intrigued, maybe even a little flattered, another part was unsure, not knowing what to make of it all. A few evenings later, as I tended to my plants on the front porch, I glanced over and saw David outside his house. Our gazes locked, and he offered a tentative smile. My first instinct was to look away, but I realized I would find no clarity in avoidance. Gathering my resolve, I set my watering can aside and walked over to him. His eyes lit with hope, though uncertainty still lingered in his posture. "David," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "could we talk?" "Of course," he replied softly, gesturing toward the porch swing near his front door. We sat down, the swing's wooden slats creaking gently beneath us as an evening breeze stirred the quiet around us. I took a slow, calming breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about what you said. I won't pretend it didn't catch me off guard, but I've started wondering if maybe I've been overlooking something that's been right in front of me." He leaned in, every bit of him focused on my words. "You're a good man," I continued carefully. "And if you're willing to be patient, I'd like to see where this goes. I can't promise I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'd like to give it a chance." Relief visibly washed over his face, and he let out a breath he'd been holding. Claire, I promise. I'll go at whatever pace you need. Just knowing there's a possibility means more to me than you know. We rocked gently on that porch swing for a while, neither of us rushing to fill the silence. A quiet reassurance flowed between us in the cool night air. I couldn't predict where things would lead, but maybe I didn't have to. For the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of excitement, an openness to the unexpected that life can sometimes bring right to our doorstep. And so, in the hush of our shared moment, I allowed myself the hope that this could be the start of something worthwhile, something real, if I found the courage to let it unfold.